Alright guys, it has been a hot frickin' minute since I've done a golf cart video. Sufficient speed. It has been a crazy couple of months, or a couple of years rather. When my dad died, that was kind of like a lot of stuff happening. A lot of crap happening out here in the shop. You can see things are gutted. Walls are ripped down, ceilings ripped down. A couple leaks in the roof I gotta address. Garage door openers have been replaced. Doors are falling apart. Yeah, it's been a bit of a cluster. Now my mom has some health issues that we're trying to work on and get solved and all that stuff. So that has been taking a lot of time. You know, family first, business and operating this business is a very close second, and then doing this stuff is a very distant fifth. There's a lot of other stuff happening, but I won't get into all that. We're going to jump into this cart here. This is a 2000... No, I'm sorry. It is a 97 EZGO TXT gas cart. This one here is what the customer has said. When it's cold or it sits for a long time, it takes a while to get started. So it'll crank and crank and crank and crank, and it just takes forever to get running. This cart's been sitting here for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to try to replicate that exact complaint. So it's been sitting out in the yard, waiting to come back into the shop so I can evaluate that problem and replicate that problem. I can't even say that I could replicate the problem because I got on it. It cranked over for less than 10 seconds. Full choke, of course, because, you know, that's natural habit for me to yank on that choke and try to crank it over. But after 10 seconds of holding the choke and cranking the engine over, it fired right up and I drove it in here, no problem. Customer may or may not be holding the choke out far enough or long enough, causing the engine to not get enough fuel to start and run. That's just a general possibility. I don't know. So we'll do a valve adjustment. I'm going to pull the carburetor and clean it. Yeah, notice I got some new lighting going on in here. I got some, these are Harbor Freight lights. Oh, it's kind of like off topic, but there's 8 of them. I have 8 of them over here. I don't have them done on that side yet because I still have some drywall to rip down. Still some stuff over there to sort and get rid of and sell and marketplace it and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's actually nice and bright in here. It's getting there. I mean, it's not as bad in here as it used to be. It's just very dark over there. There's no insulation anymore. It's all been ripped out. All the drywall's been ripped out. I'm going to go back up with OSB on the walls and the ceiling. And I have a fireproofing treatment I'm going to put on all of that wood. But yeah, just to check out these lights, though, from Harbor Freight. They're pretty flippin' bright. They make it so much brighter in here. I don't have to mess around with any more lighting systems. I mean, I could if I need to, but... Anyway, I'm starting to ramble on. Let's jump into this. To do this, what you're going to need is 10mm socket. You can do a compression test if you want, but if you haven't done this in a while, if you haven't done this at all, ever, and you feel confident in doing it, I highly recommend doing it. So you'll need a 10mm wrench and a flathead screwdriver to adjust the valves on the non-MCI engine, and the way to tell is the cast iron exhaust manifold is the non-MCI variant. If the exhaust manifold is part of the head as an aluminum exhaust manifold, that's your MCI engine. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of like stumbling all over the place here. I'm telling you, things have been, I don't want to say things have been terrible, but things haven't been great. So it's going to take me a little bit to get back into the groove. You're also going to need a feeler gauge, 4 thousandths. All right, so what I'm going to do is nice and slow and gentle. These should come out easy. They should not come out hard. If they do, hand wrench them. Use a ratchet and a socket. Don't use an impact driver like I am. Being that this is the first time I've worked on this cart, I'm using gentle force. I mean, not that I would, I'm not going to ooga-dooga them. I'm just going to, whoop, damn it. We got another. See, the non-MCI engine, the oil is actually fed through the valve cover through these ports here, through that hole. and then there's holes up inside of that. I don't want to flip this over because I'll end up dropping it. But there's holes that squirt oil down on top of the rockers. Hopefully this lighting works because this is really good. I'm just wiping off some of the oil and the crud. So what I like to do is I will roll the engine over by hand. I can already hear it. Now these outside valves are your intake and these are your exhaust. The exhaust ones are usually 9 times out of 10 the problem ones. Okay, so that's got a little bit of friction. That's what you want. You want it to feel a little bit of drag. And the way you do this is on a cold engine, and you want these lobes to face directly straight down towards the bottom of the engine. Okay, see, now that's a tight one. That won't go in. So I'll take my 10 millimeter here. I'm going to crack it loose. I get my flathead, and I'm going to put that here in the slot. And then I'm going to put the feeler gauge right underneath the rocker and turn it until it slides. And you want a little bit of friction. You want it to be just dragging enough. And then I'll take my wrench, put it on the nut, which is a 10 millimeter, and a flathead, and then you hold back against the direction you're turning the wrench to tighten. I think the screwdriver is magnetic. And you don't need to go far. There, we got the same, what feels like the same amount of drag on that rocker. Okay, so now I'm going to go here because this is the next closest one. This is our intake. So cylinder 1 and 2 intake, perfect. Like I said, they usually are. Now we're going to go to our exhaust valve here. It's actually gotten harder to rotate this engine over. Now you got to do this on a cold engine, not a warm engine. Some guys out there are going to say you got to do it on a warm engine. It's like, no, the book calls for the engine to be cold. And I'm going to listen to the book. It has not steered me wrong yet. Oh, see, that one was pretty tight. Not terribly tight, but it was tight. All right, so again, I'm going to pull back against that and tighten it up. Same amount of friction. Perfect. If you were doing an oil change, this is what I would do, is I would drain the oil, leave the oil filter out, and then do the valves. So by the time you're done doing the valves, the oil is pretty well drained out of this. And then wash your filter, put it back in, tighten it up, and then dump the oil right into the valve head, right into the head here, so you don't have to worry about messing with the valve cover oil fill port. Now, don't cringe, but this is what I'm doing. Oop, got my glove. Give me my glove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have that on a low setting, but I know my tools, guys, so if you're gonna give me a hard time about that, I know my tools. I've been doing it that way forever. I've never stripped a screw, and I've never cracked a valve cover. Okay, I'm just checking the oil. So the oil's right on the money. It is dirty. I'm going to ask the customer if they want me to change it while I have it. I'm going to get this thing running, see if it starts any better. I'm going to try not to touch the choke. Hopefully you can see that a little bit. Oh, get my keys. Okay, put it in neutral. This one doesn't have a lockout for neutral. Brake off. And I'm just going to be gentle with it. Ready? So we're just activating the solenoid. Look at that. A little more throttle. Okay, so it's... That's actually a good sounding engine. That engine sounds good. Yeah, see, everything's moving freely. It's It's not over governed. It's actually in really good shape. It's not smoking too. I was running it to see if I was going to get a garage full of smoke. Let me take this airbox cover off again. Put that there. I'm going to move you a little bit here, but see, the filter's not bad. It's not, the pleats aren't dirty. Like I said, there's a little bit of like dust here, but it's not, if I put it up to the light, I can see through it. So that tells me the filter's good. There's no point in wasting money on that stuff. All right, let me get you moved and we'll take this airbox off. It's all 10 millimeter. I always use 1/4 inch stuff. And I'm also going to be doing gas, or is that just water? That's just water, okay. Seen some dribble-ins here. And because I'm doing carburetor work, I'm going to change this fuel filter, even though it does look good. I change fuel filters anytime I touch the carburetor. I don't mess around with that. Take that off. This is the spark arrestor plate. 2 10 millimeter nuts that hold that on. And then there's 2 10 millimeter stud nuts. These things are hard to find, so don't lose them. They screw into the carburetor, and then it's what the spark arrestor plate mounts to. Okay. And then the 2 other nuts, let me take out, so here's the other one. It's a stud nut, I call it. And then there's 2 other nuts that are here. These actually are what hold the airbox up against the carburetor. These studs go all the way through the carb into the head. I'm just trying to get my fingers in here to unscrew them manually because they're coming off nice and easily. So it's this, whoever's been taking care of this cart before me has been doing a really nice job. So hats off to that mechanic, keeping all this clean and grease free. Now these bolts here you got to take off. There's 2 on the side of the airbox. They carry the weight of the airbox, so it's not dangling and rattling. Just have to unhook the PCV hose from the airbox on the top. Hope you could see. I have the camera out of my way. I need to be able to work. I can't have you in my way. Another bolt. Airbox slides right off. All right, so we got to get the fuel line off. And we also have to get the throttle off. So this throttle linkage here just pops right off. It's a flathead screwdriver. This is either going to be 1/4 inch or 8 millimeter, 7 millimeter. Yes, it is. It's part of the complaint that I'm getting, so I would rather just address it for 7 mil, okay. You gotta kind of hold on to it until it loosens up. It's gonna let you slide this plate off, and it lets the choke cable come out. Just keep your eye on these gaskets too. You don't want to. Yeah, choke cable's working, so we're good there. Make sure the key is off so you don't get all that stuff wound up in there. I am going to check flow on the fuel pump. What I like to do for that is take the gas cap off, crank the engine over. Okay, that goes. Alright, then the carburetor should just slide right off. Sometimes the starter generator gets in the way, but you know, you can just wobble it around a little. You can see the smoke. Oh, I shut it off. Yeah. So, alright, let's take this, a little wetness there. I see a little bit of varnishy fuel dumping out of this thing, so let's take this over and take it apart. Alright, I'm going to try this. I got a couple of paper towels here. I had to clean my pan a little bit. It was a little funky. So cleaned it out with some old gas to make it nice and pretty. So you can't complain I'm using a dirty container. because I know how some of you guys are. So we need a 12 millimeter. 12 millimeter on the bottom of the bowl here. Whoops. Some gas on the carb still. Let me dump it out into this tray. Still dumping. Get in there. I will crack that loose. Before I do that, you know what? I got an idea. Stand by. Rinse in here. I don't like to get carburetor juice all over the O-rings on the inside of the carb because it will swell the rubbers. You could use brake cleaner. See, I got it all over my rubber mat here, so I don't know how well this is going to last. I'm not too worried about the outside. I just don't want this crap getting inside. Oh, all over the monitor. Yeah. My workbench right now is a little bit of a mess, so this is what you're going to have to just deal with. I don't care if you like it or not. I'll wipe this bowl off really quick. This is just so I can get the majority of the heavy crap off first. Now I will pop the bowl off. See, now there's a little bit of trash in there. That little bit of trash could cause a little bit of problems. Nothing bad. Could cause hard starting. Could cause the carburetor to completely block up, and then you won't be able to start the cart at all. Now I'll just wipe this out. Well, somebody's going to complain because they can't see what I'm doing. I'm just cleaning the bowl out. Relax. Put that there. Just wiping the nut off a little bit. Trying to get this main jet out here. Probably not. Oh my goodness, really? No way. Is it turning? No. I didn't break it loose. Okay, let me see. Somebody has rounded it off. I might not get this jet out. No, I'm not going to get this jet out. Somebody's rounded it over. Can't see it. This camera does not do good up close. Let me see. Oh, I got it. I got it. Did you hear the click? Nine times out of 10, you don't even have to do this. All you really need to do is squirt some carb cleaner up in there. There we go. There's the main jet. Looks blocked. I'll shoot some carburetor cleaner in there. Clear now. There's the jet tube, or whatever they call this part. That's clear. There's little tiny holes on it. If you shine up at the light, you can see through the holes. You're good. Okay. There's not a whole lot in here. Not a whole lot in here. Again, I'm trying to avoid the rubbers as much as I can. Don't really need to go super nuts and crazy with it. If you're feeling a little froggy, you can use a little bit of comb pressed air to dry her out. Okay. I'm just blasting out these ports. And then I'll just clean up the venturi. Dump it in there. Give it a little bit of a... See, there wasn't any problems with the cart running. But I just wanted to get the... It only goes in one way. The tubey part sticks in first, because that's what sticks up into the Venturi. And then the main jet only goes in one way, because you got to be able to screw it in. And then screw it in. I'm just going to put it in snug, because it's getting to the point where it's not going to come out anymore. This camera does not do very good up close. Okay, there we go. So it's just snug. Okay, got to watch your O-ring here. Make sure it's not all swollen. See how it's swelling? This is what you got to watch. Try not to get carburetor cleaner on it. It can swell and then it pops off. And then you're in trouble, because now you can't buy a new one. Okay. Put this nut back in. 12 millimeter. Tighten her down. This gasket's good. No need to change it. Slide that bad boy back on there. There's actually a couple of ports down here that those are supposed to go in, but they never seem to do. The fuel line is nice and supple. It's not rigid and stiff, so I'm not worried about that. This was more of a maintenance item versus a problem item. That's the only real reason why we're doing it. The valves, I believe, were the problem. Okay. Choke. Put that on. Forget to tighten it up. Make sure you hold on to it while you're tightening it so it doesn't twist. It don't have to be like shillelagh tight. It just needs to be not even Gahunga tight. I'll put this back on. Down there. Looks like one of our, watch 2, the airbox. These spacers have a tendency of falling out. Just make sure before you put the airbox back on the cart, those are on there. If your gaskets are ripped on that choke plate, make sure you replace them. They're in good nick on this, so we're good. Put one on there to hold it. Put that on there. I'm going to take the 2 bolts that hold the airbox in place. I'm going to get them started by hand. Normally I would use the air ratchet to speed this up, but I'm going to talk a lot. Put this in. Put this in. Remember to make sure the bolt nuts are, the long side goes into the carburetor. They won't thread in if you try to go the other way. Can't get my fat hand in here. Alright, another nut on here. Now you got to tighten these all up before you can put the spark arrestor plate back on. So I always go by the studs first that go through the carburetor. We'll tighten them up. And then we'll tighten up our airbox to carb stud bolts. And then I'll come back here, tighten these up. They hit a stop point, so you don't have to go like crazy tightening those. Tighten them up. I'm gonna take these out for a moment, because I want to wipe out that oil residue. Cleaner of the brake. Spray it in there just to kind of loosen it up. Instead of carburetor cleaner, I prefer to use brake cleaner when I can. It's not as harsh on the plastic. Okay. It's going to be thick and oily. There's really not a whole lot you can do about it. Just kind of wipe out the excess. Spark arrestor plate goes on in this fashion. The little thing goes on the bottom. Put that on. Put a locking washer, split washer, whatever you want to call it. Put a nut on to get it started. Repeat for the second one. Get them touching by hand. And then grab your 3/4 inch impact gun and tighten them down. If a 3/4 is not big enough, get a 1 inch. And make sure you set it on the highest setting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to crank the engine over, and I'm going to run it without touching the choke. We're going to see if it'll start and run under its own fuel priming. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't change the fuel filter. Let me do that. Wasn't even in there very tight, so I bet you there was leaks. Walked into the jack. So I'm no longer a Red Hawk dealer. You're going to see Red Hawk parts being used in some parts of these other newer videos coming out. Hopefully I'll actually be able to make some newer videos this year. But it's only because it's just remaining leftover stock that I have. I'm no longer a Red Hawk dealer because they told me they sent me a letter, but I never got a letter. I'm not spending enough money with them. So after 13 years of doing business with them, they basically told me to fuck off. I'm sure they told a lot of other small guys like me the same thing, which is pretty shitty because I liked Red Hawk over a lot of other vendors because they were small business and that they were for the small business. Well, apparently not. Apparently they don't care. They got too big for their britches. And now they are all for the big guy now, I guess, or the distributor, or whatever the hell. I don't really care. It just sucks because this fuel line sucks too. Well, we're going to change it because I don't want any callbacks for this problem. So yeah, I am, whoops, great. Never find that again. Very disappointing, to say the least. Very, very, very disappointing. I know you can't see what I'm doing, can you? I don't know what I just hit. I hit the button on the damn camera. So yeah, just wanted to let you know if you see Red Hawk products, I don't sell them anymore. Not going to, except for whatever I have left in stock. And then after the stock is gone, then Red Hawk can piss off. That's what happens when companies get so big. You know, and it says that on their, like when you sign up to become a dealer, it says you got to spend a certain amount of money a year, and not a problem. Okay, sure. But I was like not very far from that. I'm a little salty about it, if you couldn't tell. I'm trying to give this fuel filter as much excess play as I can because I've noticed that some of these EZGOs, every couple of years you got to trim, not EZGO specifically, but fuel lines, you got to trim these fuel lines back where the filters go. I have these filters with barbs on them and I hate them, so it's what I got to use because I'm out of the ones I used to get. Anyway, let's see if this works. Alright, so I'm going to see if it'll, I got to get it to prime the fuel filter first. Let me tighten up this vacuum line first because it looks like it's a little loosey-goosey. There we go. It could be causing some of our problems too. You know, the other possibility is the siphon tube down in the gas tank could be... It's almost like it's pulling air. This is a brand new fuel pump. The customer said they just had this put on. I want to see if I can pull this off now without breaking it. I'm going to attempt to remove the siphon tube from the gas tank. Can you see what I'm doing? Barely. Okay, sorry. I don't know if you could See, I can't see what I'm doing, so how are you going to see what I'm doing? Gotta roll it gently. There we go. So what I'm going to do is take this out. I want to check the siphon tube and make sure it's not cracked or broken. Because a lot of time, yeah, see, look at it, it's loose. So what'll happen is it'll actually leak in here. And it'll cause, and it's blocked. Oh, there we go. Did you see that little thing of snot shoot out of there? Yeah, see, it wasn't all the way up in there. It doesn't take a lot. I mean, before I screw that in, let me do this. Let's put it on a couple of barbs. It should be good. Interesting. Okay, I am down in the fuel. I should pull the spark plug so this is easier cranking. There we go. That was weird. Alright, it's pulling fuel now. It's pulling fuel pretty good, actually. Alright, so I'm going to back off our throttle. So you can see the filter's filling up. It might pop and crackle a little bit. Alright, so the pump is pumping good now. I want to get this to start and run under its own power with no choke. I might have to choke it. Alright, that's a full column of gas, so that's working. Let me choke it really quick. Possibility. Anything like Club Car. Club Car is very temperamental, we'll say. Let's put the airbox. It's a Red Hawk filter. They're made too thick so they don't go on very easily. Sometimes these carts won't start with the air filters off. Let me take this off so I can screw this back in. Actually, I see some crap floating around in here. Let's see if I can... Floating around on the end of this thingamajig here. Thingamajig, that's a new technical term. It looks like it might have been the old glue. There it goes. Did you hear that? Okay. So I wonder if I have any adhesive. Oh, look at that. There, more. Slight blockage in here. That sounds a lot better. Okay. Generally, that's usually enough to make these work. Let's see. Let me see if I can get this to run and empty this filter. See what a difference. There we go. Yeah, it's pumping a lot better now, so I bet you there was a little blockage in the elbow of this petcock. Put this back in. We're going to thread the tubey-majig all the way down. Right there. Not really crazy about this fuel line being so long. I might do that. Yeah, like I said, not crazy about this. I might shorten that. As much as I hate to... This, knock it off. So it seems like we had a couple of issues here, right? So one being the elbow inside this siphon tube that goes down into the tank had a little bit of a, from what I can tell, a little bit of a blockage in the, right up in here. And that, believe it or not, will cause a blockage in these little fuel systems, will cause a world of trouble. But new fuel lines, these are not so rigid, nice and flexible. That's better, I like that. I'm gonna put the little tangy things facing away from the gas tank, so when you're cranking this on, it's not ripping you out in your new skin. All right, so it should fire right up. Got a good running cart here. I must say, this is a good running cart. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to reach out to the customer, see if they want to do an oil change and all that stuff. If they do, I'm not going to film that. I mean, you've seen me do oil changes on these engines a billion times. It's just a typical oil change. But yeah, I think that's going to do it on this one, guys. That was it. So we did a valve adjustment, we pulled the carburetor and cleaned it, replaced the fuel filter and some fuel line, tightened down that vacuum line down there. That was loose. So I think that's what's going to do it for this one. Any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, whatever, leave them down in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. And then hopefully we will be continuing making new videos. Got a couple of carts coming up that I think might be interesting. That is stuff I haven't seen before, so we'll go through it together and see if we can come up with a plan. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.